In order to understand Lisk Core, let's first talk about the client-server relationship. What is the client-server relationship? Every time a computer or an application wants to connect to the internet to access a web page or transfer data, the device needs to send a request to a server. The device used to send the request is called the client. The server receives the request, checks its validity, processes the data, and fulfills the request by providing information to the client. All the data processed by the server is stored in a database. A database is a collection of information that is organized so that it can be easily accessed, managed, and updated. You can imagine it as a big Excel file that contains all sorts of information, such as email addresses, usernames, passwords, and preference settings. Each time a client wants to read or write data into a database, for example, to log into an account, the client sends a specific request to the server. The server will retrieve the required data from the database, compare it to the request, process and then respond to it, in this example, with a successful login. This is a centralized model, as there is a single server managing all of the requests. However, blockchain technology offers an alternative, a decentralized network, in which requests can be handled by any of the network's participants, also known as nodes. Every node is responsible for holding and feeding an individual copy of the database, which is constantly synchronized alongside the other nodes of the network. This creates multiple identical copies of the information, which validates every piece of the stored data. This distributed network of databases is called blockchain. Blockchains are made up of many nodes communicating and synchronizing within them. For example, the Lisk network is composed of hundreds of nodes. So, how does a server become a Lisk node? In order for a machine to become a Lisk node, the server needs to follow the Lisk Protocol. The Lisk Protocol is a theoretical set of rules that includes the consensus algorithm, security standards, block creation processes, peer-to-peer communication handles, and several defined transaction types. Lisk Core is the program that implements the Lisk Protocol. In other words, Lisk Core is what every machine needs to set up in order to run a node that allows for participation in the network. That's why every time there's a new release of Core, it's recommended for every node to update to the latest version. But of course, a decentralized network can't exist with only one node. When multiple servers become Lisk nodes and follow the same set of rules, they automatically start to communicate, become peers, and establish the decentralized network. So, who can run a node? The fascinating part of blockchain technology is that everyone is able to set up a node and become part of the network, even though it is not mandatory to run a node in order to participate in the network. There are two ways to participate in the network. The first option is to connect to an existing node using one of Lisk's user interfaces, like Lisk Hub. Every time someone uses Lisk Hub to connect to the Lisk network, it connects to a Lisk node which is running Core, containing the latest information available. Lisk Hub is a simple and easy-to-use way of accessing the network and using its functionalities. The second way to participate in the network is by setting up your own Lisk node and connect it to the other nodes in the network. But why would someone set up their own node? An individual could be interested in having their own copy of the blockchain to monitor or verify data. For example, those interested in monitoring and contributing to the security of the Lisk network, exchanges, delegates, and large holders will often choose to run their own node. So, what is Lisk Core? In short, Lisk Core is the codebase of the rules established by the Lisk Protocol. It is a mandatory program to be executed on every node in the Lisk network and guarantees the validity of the data contained within the Lisk blockchain and the new data being written on it.